This week. Move around to all the rooms. Yep. How we doing, Barry? Good. Good.
At this time, I would like to call the July 22nd, 2005 Public Service Meeting to order. Madam Clerk, roll call to establish a quorum.
Chairman Rick Streebing, Vice Chairman Sherry Pickering,
Here.
Alderman Tricia Teague,
Present.
E. Bloodwick,
Present.
Jaleel Jones, Doug Arns,
Present.
John Cooper,
Here.
5 present.
We do have a quorum. Thank you. At this time, I need a motion and a second to approve the minutes of June the 24th, 2025 of the Public Service Meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion or debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. At this time, I need a motion and a second to approve the amended agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion or debate? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Motion carried. Madam Clerk, do we have any audience comments?
We do have one audience comment. P.J. Bourne of Danville regarding the change to a street name. If you could come to the podium, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Yes, my name is PJ. It was PJ last week, and it'll be PJ next week as well. So I'm here because I've stated, and you all are very familiar with the fact that I live in a street that is a cul-de-sac. I am the only one that lived there. I have no evidence or anyone else or residents that live near me that would affect my street change. You've been given information pertaining to the previous owner and the owner prior to that and the person that built the house. So I've been asking for, oh Lord, about maybe a couple of months now, and I brought it to you all. You voted, so I think you need to revisit it again, because if there's no one there that is interfered or anyone that's going to be interfered with this address, I see no reason why it should not be changed. At the same time, I also know that I have aldermen, and I don't know if my aldermen are working with me or for me or against me. I do know that I bidded for my mayor. My mayor is here, as he has been most of the time. And just like we elected our mayor, I'm asking for you all to revisit the opportunity for me to change my street. I want to know tonight, is there any reason why, again, that you all choose not to change the street that only I live on and only I possess? I would like to know that because it's not fair for me to keep coming and keep asking, which I don't mind and I will continue to do because I do live on that street. There have been many excuses as to why I should not, as to open up a can of worms, you need to join the celebrity bowl or whatever. That should not be necessary. I'm a citizen of Danville, Illinois. I live on a street that no one else lives on. I occupy the residence by myself. It doesn't interfere with anyone coming or going, and I choose to change the name of the street. And that's why I'm here again. So hopefully tonight, Mayor, you think we could get some kind of answers as to why this street has not given the opportunity or permission to be changed?
I don't have anything, Mrs. Bourne.
Pardon me?
I don't have anything, Mrs. Bourne.
Okay, will we have something maybe the next week, or will you all put it back on the calendar or on the agenda? Seeing that I'm still the only one that lived there, you all have gotten all the information as to why I want the street changed. You all know that I'm the only one that live on that street. You all know that no one else can interfere or be hindered by this street. So there's no reason typically for anyone to say, no, the street name should not be changed. As I looked at some of the other residents of people that live here, I am the only one that live in this area in this type of situation. So, would you all acknowledge that?
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments.
All right. See you all next week.
That's all I have.
Thank you. We now have chairman's comments, and I do have a comment. There was a statement made at our last public service meeting that we're not even boarding up structures anymore. That was not correct. We are boarding up structures, and I just wanted to make sure that that is clear to our public. Okay, next we have the payroll. At this time, I need a motion and a second to approve the payroll ending in July the 15th, 2025.
So moved.
Second? Do you have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion or debate? Roll call, please.
Alderman Teague,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Arns,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you. Motion carried. Approve the vouchers payable. At this time, I need a motion and a second to approve vouchers for the July 22nd and a special run July the 18th.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please. Or is there any discussion? I'm sorry. Any discussion or debate? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Ludwig,
Yes.
Arns,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you. Motion carried. We now have the city clerk's Rachel Hahn. Items of information.
I'm just happy to announce that Deputy Clerk Kayla's son has started this week. She started on Monday. And she's going through all her training and getting ready to start working with me. And we're just continuing working with licensing and FOIA and staff record disposal.
So, okay. Thank you. Any questions for our city clerk? Okay, on to 9, Community Relations, Rihanna Olis, Administrator. Items of information and monthly report, please.
Hi, good evening. I submitted my paperwork a little bit late, but it should be in your guys' drop boxes. Did anybody have any questions in specific for me? No? Okay. Well, the only 2 things that I wanted to remind is Community Day is coming up on this Sunday. We could really use some volunteers. We have everything secured and ready to go, and it should be a good time to just kind of come together at Lincoln Park and just hang out. And then my second thing is Science in the City is August 1st from 5 to 8 p.m. We have an egg drop contest and tie-dye t-shirts and all of the fun stuff. So if you're looking for something for your kiddos to come and do or grandkids to come and do before school's back in session, come on out.
Okay, thank you.
Madam-
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to say that I really appreciate Rihanna and her team. There's one thing in particular that I'm especially proud of. You all may have seen a video going around stating that Danville was the right armpit of Illinois. And a fella drove down primarily alleys and places where things were in disrepair and didn't quite give us a fair shot or assessment of our community. Rihanna reached out to him and asked him, hey, could you please come and talk to us about getting a fuller picture of Danville. A couple of weeks ago on a Saturday morning, she and I met with Mr. Hardin, and He listened and recorded over an hour of video with us, and actually then used that the B-roll that we gave and went out and took footage of the different things that we discussed in the video. And he created a video and released that and shared it. And it's my hope that folks will, as I said in a previous video, will share the truth as much as we share misinformation, because it was a really good video. So I just want to say thank you for fighting on behalf of all of us, for our citizens, for our team, all the great work that they do. We deserve to have a fair picture of our community.
And it was a very great video. I watched it. Very good.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
10A is a resolution authorizing a 5-year agreement for broker services with Epic Insurance Brokers and Consultants. At this time, I make a motion to dispense with the reading and ask for their approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Kathy, would you like to explain this?
Oh, okay.
or if there's any questions, yeah.
Well, what we used to do when I first started with the city was we would go out and put a bid out for insurance. What would happen then is we'd have 6 to 8 different brokers within the city that would bring us the exact same plans. And so when the ACA came into play and all of its rules and regulations, we ended up working with Epic Brokers to be our actual brokers. And so they're the ones who then go out, find us the insurance companies and the plans that we have currently. We've been with them since 2012. They've always been very good at making sure that they're providing us with plans that are affordable, that are providing our employees benefits. We come up with very many different creative ways of trying to save money as well with them. And so since we had been so long, since we had gone out to bid for the brokers themselves, we went ahead and did it again this year. And so that I'm not on the same schedule as I do for work comp and liability. Work comp and liability, I go out every 5 years as well. And then, so trying not to keep them on the same year, one of the things we wanted to go ahead and do that this year. I did get 5 proposals, very good ones, some not so much, but the Epic still provided us with all of the extra perks that we get from them that are still free. They only what they get paid is just the commission they would a broker would get paid for having providing a policy anyway. So that's why we wanted to go ahead and do a 5-year commitment with them again, and then this way we'll go out in another 5 years and see if maybe there's another broker that might be able to provide us with that coverage.
Any questions for Kathy? No? Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Arns,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you. Motion carried. 10B is items of information from Alyssa Sweeten. We have B1, fiscal year 2025-2026 cash flow and budget performance report. 2 is the June risk management monthly report, and 3 is a personal monthly report. Comptroller Sweeten.
Were there any questions on the reports?
Yes, I have a question. I'm looking at the liquid fund balances, the section that's green. So I noticed that Fund 106, which is CDBG, has a negative cash balance of $430,000, and it has a liquid balance of liquid fund balance as of date above, once you take into consideration encumbrances and revenues, of a negative 1.2 million. And so I'm curious and also it does not have any outstanding accounts receivables. So I'm curious to know how we make up for the 1.2 million. Does the 1.2 million come out of general fund? Are there expected revenues that are not actually stated on here? I'm just trying to get an understanding of the negative 1.2 million.
Yes, so CDBG is all reimbursement. We wouldn't establish the receivable until we initiated the drawdown. So at the point that we submit the documentation to initiate the payment, then we would recognize a receivable for that. So that's why there's no receivable listed. as far as the payments, so CDBG, we pay the bills out of the general checking account, but they're expensed to CDBG. And then once the revenue comes in, it will offset that. The money will go back into general checking.
So then are the revenues for this budget year or last budget year?
They'll be for this year.
So then why aren't they included in the budgeted revenues?
Because we don't budget the revenue. We do, because they got new grants. So the new grants they got wouldn't be included in the budget that we established last year, but we expect those payments this year, and we'll create the receivable once we initiate the drawdown.
But when we get new grants and those come to us for approval, don't we also approve a budget amendment for those grants?
Yes. And part of the accounting that we've been looking at is then also doing the accounting for the grant revenue, but that's never been a part of the process historically. So that's one of the accounting practices that we are actively looking at right now, to make sure that we're accounting for the expected revenue as well. But that just hasn't been historically how it's been handled.
Okay. So then what is the expected revenue for those then? Is it this amount? Is it a different amount?
It would be this amount. CDBG is all reimbursed.
Okay, so it's basically will come out to zero at some point.
Yeah, we'll get the money back.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, Comptroller? Thank you. 11 is our Fire Chief Aaron Marcotte, items of information and monthly status report.
Yep. One thing you'll notice in the report, at the time of our publication, the software wasn't working for call updates. I do have those numbers if you want them. We're about 2,600 calls for the year, up about 200 from the last 2 years previously. We're at 40 structure fires for the year, with all the other ones either being close or just slightly above from years past. The heat's affecting us a little bit in our outdoor training, so it's kind of slowing us down a little bit, trying to keep cool. We're also putting together Engine 3, doing software integration and some other things, so that's kind of what's going on in the fire station. Kaylee Sanchez did help us, and we received a CSX grant in the amount of $5,000 to purchase 5 situational thermal imaging cameras. So we'll be doing that once we get that check from them. We had our first 1 million view video, so we went viral on the internet from Danville, which is kind of nice. Partially was a California water dispute. They thought that was Danville, California, so they got into a little water dispute. But, so it took some traction and got some things, but it was also us out spraying kids, and that was the thing. So it also got us 2,800 new followers on our website, so it's kind of nice. So then we had 2 firefighters, probationary firefighters, Caleb Busick and Dylan Irvin, graduated academy last week. So they're doing a week's worth of training this week, and they'll start shift next week. So that's what's going on.
Chief, wasn't one of them honored for?
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, Caleb Busick got the firemanship award out of the thing, which is basically the guy that was the most helpful and assisting others and everything. So really good group out of those 2. Earlier this year, I published a picture of them, those 2. Everybody left class, and our 2 guys went and helped a lady change her tire, and I thought that was kind of nice, and telling of those 2 in their character. So, which is something we try to preach and find. So it's nice. So yeah. So any questions? I guess.
Any other questions? Thank you. 12A is a resolution authorizing a 3-year agreement with Wazoo for endpoint and cloud protection. At this time, I'll make a motion to dispense with the reading and ask for their approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Would you like to give us some information?
Sure. Thank you, Jim. So basically, Wazoo is a replacement for a product that we use called Rapid7, which monitors all our endpoints. Our endpoints are basically all our IT assets. That could be computers, desktop, laptops, servers, and everything. So Rapid7, when we started out, was great. It requires additional maintenance. Like, for example, we have to have a server here, which costs licensing costs and things like that. With Wazoo, we can eliminate all that. So potentially we'll be looking at $5,000 a year in savings with this solution. Not only offers that same level of what we call monitoring, but also gives us additional insights into compliance and things like that, which cost extra if we look at another solution. So it kind of consolidates, combines all of that into one solution. So it makes more sense to do a 3-year agreement, so we lock the price in. Otherwise, we would pay a little bit more for a 1 year. So I figured we could bring this for approval for a multi-year agreement.
Any questions for Agnell? Roll call, please. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. Roll call, please.
Alderman Cooper,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Ludwig.
Yes.
Arns,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
5 yes.
Motion carried. Thank you. 12B is a resolution authorizing the upgrade to an enterprise license agreement for ESRI GIS software. At this time, I'll make a motion to dispense with the reading and ask for their approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Would you like to?
Sure.
Okay.
So again, Esri is our GIS mapping vendor, like the software provider. So thanks to Adam, so he invited the Esri folks over, and David Ruby, myself, and Adam. We had a discussion about going forward, what our costs look like, for the next 3 or 4 years and things like that, because everything is subscription based and the costs are going up each year. So we evaluated our current licensing structure. We figured if we have to add more licenses, it would cost more, compared to a cloud hosting. Right now we pay for servers, for hardware, for licensing, all of that on-prem. So with this structure, not only are we going to save money in the next few years, but also eliminates the need of having all the extra hardware maintenance costs and things like that. So it looks like $6,000 more, but actually we're going to save more money, because if you add additional licenses, they cost more than $30,000 over a period of time. Right now we are very limited on licenses. Only a few people can be editors and some viewers. With this enterprise licensing, we have pretty much unlimited access. So we can do more, there's more productivity, and then there's no delays in, only one person taking care of stuff, as far as editor licenses and things like that. And Adam can probably explain a little bit more technical side of things.
Yeah, thank you, Agnell. Every year we add 1 or 2 or up to 3 new user licenses. It's pretty much an a la carte system of what we're following now. And in a couple of years, we're going to be right at that 30,000 anyway, and we're only going to have 15, 16 licenses for the whole GIS system. What this allows us to do is get 100 licenses for that same amount, plus viewers and everything else for our security applications. And what this is allowing us to do is integrate the GIS system further and deeper into the workflows of our city departments. Police department is one of our biggest users right now. Marshall's here with me. They are consuming some of those licenses. They'd like to expand because they're really kind of building out a brand new system. They need the licenses for the staff that they have. Public Works, of course, is another one. And we've got a lot of great apps coming online for them. And the thing is, we're being held back, of course, with a lot of the mobile devices, the iPads and things that the field workers need to collect the data so that we can then analyze the data in-house in the management offices so that we can more appropriately use our resources throughout our divisions. And that's where this comes in. It's a 3-year agreement that locks in that price. So we don't have to do an a la carte system and piecemeal this together.
Thank you. Any questions? Roll
Yeah.
call, please. Oh,
My one question is, what's the average cost per user license now?
It depends on the license. Right now, our editor licenses, they're running about $700 a person.
Okay, thank you.
any other questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Teague,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Arns,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you. Now we will have the IT items of information and monthly report from Director DeSelvi.
Are there any questions on the monthly status report? That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
13 is our legal department, Leon Parker Corporation Counsel, items of information and monthly report.
Good evening. You have the report for the monthly summaries of city court cases. If there's any questions? Yes.
I have one question, not specifically about the report as it stands now, but given the ordinance that was passed last month relating to the potential of homeless ticketing, if there is a homeless ticket, so if a person, let's say they decline to take advantage of resources and therefore were being ticketed, will those show up in this report?
It should. It would. We'd probably have to add that category to this because we haven't had it before. But so far, that's not been the case.
Right, understood. It's brand new, so I wasn't expecting for it to be here now. I was just asking about potential for if it happens.
We can add that to our monthly report.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Thank you. 14A is a resolution authorizing the purchase of a security camera system for the city of Danville Parks. At this time, I make a motion to dispense with the reading and ask for their approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Chief, would you like to?
What this is something that we've been working on for 8 months or longer on trying to set up a system. We've done it incrementally. You're all aware of the grants that we've applied for over the last 2 years. And we've already got some systems put up under the different crime grant initiatives. This one is to particularly impact our city parks as well as the surrounding areas and neighborhoods around the parks. I'm very proud and at the same time humbled by the cooperation that we've had from other departments within the city. I know the IT division and Public Works has really come together on putting together a strategic plan to present to you with this system. This will also link in with all and upgrade and enhance the system that we currently have with our cameras to include LPRs and everything else. I can't answer a lot of the questions as far as the technological side of it. However, I have brought our crime analyst, John Marshall Fender, as well as Agnell's here. So if anybody has any particular questions on the system, you'll see in the, also to answer this before it gets asked, is the quote that we have from Heartland is a little bit confusing because it adds the 5-year and the 10-year together, and that was all we had at the time. So I put that in the folder. However, today we just, Agnell handed me the updated one, which if you take the 10-year amount with the smaller amount, I think it was like a $15,000 post system amount, the total should be within our range under 200,000, 196,797.84, which would be accurate, not the I think it was like 300,000. If we were to go with the system without utilizing the skills and abilities of our IT division, Marshall Fender, Analyst Fender's knowledge and expertise, this system could very easily exceed well over $500,000 or more. And if you look at the totality of everything and putting it together, if we had started from scratch and not done the incremental steps with so much of the internal work being done by the skills and the people we already have, well over, I would estimate well over $1 million. So that's humbling to know that we have people intelligent enough and skilled enough to put this stuff together to where it actually makes my mind spin just to think about it. So if you have any questions about it, we can go from there. And I'll try to answer, but I'll most likely defer you to somebody else.
I think you'll be able to answer this one. So are we going with the 5-year or the 10-year option?
10-year.
Okay, and then what happens after the 10 years? So then is it the same amount, or is it just the licensing piece? Because obviously, for example, okay, let me look at one of the particular parts. So, for example, you've got mounting and shipping and all of those things. I'm assuming that those go away. And so then are we just looking at the licensing going forward, and then some of these other pieces that appear to possibly be hardware, we wouldn't need to do those again? So is that an accurate assumption?
So the way it works is within 10 years, they will support all the cameras. So let's say if they don't support those cameras, they'll provide newer model at that point. Say after 10 years, we have an option to sign a new agreement. If we want to upgrade the cameras, we can keep the current cameras because this system, it's all software, it's patented software. The cameras are just lenses and whatever you have the hardware, right? So they give us an option to get newer cameras at that point, with technology. Typically it's 5 years refresh cycle, 5 to 7 years, but 10 years is a good thing for us because then we don't have to worry about, replacing them often and things like that. So we have an option to get new cameras and new licensing at that point.
So potentially the cost could
Potentially, yeah, 10 years later, we have an option to replace everything and get the latest at that point. Or we could keep our current cameras and just pay for the license.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the potential cost could be similar
Yes.
to what we're paying now for the first 10 years,
Yeah.
given inflation and all of those other factors.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
A large part of the cost savings also is the relationships that the city, specifically the IT division, has built with different vendors and providers that's been able to put the price within something that's very reasonable, as if we were going start fresh with. I've definitely learned over the past 6 years the value of building those relationships with the vendors, and it's helped quite a bit.
Alderman Cooper?
Oh, given the circumstances we've been through, I would have supported this. I don't care if it was 500,000, I would have supported it, and I think it's something that needs to be done. I'm glad it's in every park. The coverage on these things, I don't know how far you can go with this, but the parking lots and everything included in this, where now if there's videotape of somebody doing vandalism, can we use that to prosecute?
There will be evidentiary value, but Marshall, is there any way you can add to that? As far as you're talking about in a reactive approach rather than the proactive alert of how. Marshall, if you could explain some of the ways this will help us both proactively in notifying us that something's going on, as well as the reactive when it comes to the investigative and evidentiary value.
Absolutely. So to start this system on the proactive side, you're giving officers, investigators, myself, command, the ability to monitor situations real time, react to events real time. And if we have footage of these acts, we have used them in the past. The same goes for when we're looking at digital evidence of all kinds, whether it be from a business camera, a residential camera, a cell phone camera even. We do bring and use that in court as well for those cases. And I think a big part of this as well is you're providing top down, the entire department, the ability to monitor these situations from wherever they're at. A third shift officer can be in their patrol car and monitor something going on the other side of town, rather than contacting me the next day and reacting to that event after it's already happened.
That's something I'm glad we're doing. When will this all be installed, or is there a time frame on this? If we approve this tonight, when will they be up and running?
Once it goes through full council, all the mechanisms are in place to get started on it immediately. We do believe that we will take it based off priority and the analysis of the information that we have already as to where they need to go in first. And then, it's going to be as quickly as all hands on deck can get it done. Agnall, if you can answer as far as the time from ordering the product to getting it, as well as and then Public Works would probably be as far as the installation.
Sure. So the procurement process for the cameras, typically a couple weeks. The company's already stocked up on the cameras, so usually 10 to 15 days we'll have them here. Then it depends on how fast we can get them installed because it takes time. So I would say, based on my experience, probably anywhere from 4 to 6 months to complete the whole project, park by park. So we would prioritize, like the Chief mentioned, the main areas that we think that are required first, and then go from there. If we outsource it, we could probably get it done quicker because they were a dedicated staff that can do that. And we got some numbers on that, approximately 32,000 we have to outsource it versus us doing it. So our guys are capable of doing it. It's just that how much time they have and how soon they can get it done. So we looked into all those numbers as well.
The only other question I have is, we're doing this and we had plans to work in individual parks throughout the city. That's not going to take away from any of that, is it? Okay.
Alderman Cooper, you'd be very proud of our team. They've worked hard to identify savings in various places, and I think 3 or 4 different divisions have pulled a little bit from here and a little bit from there to make it happen so that it's budget neutral.
I fully support it. I just think it's a necessary evil we have to do, and I'm 100% behind it. So.
Any other questions? And I forgot the aldermen that are over there, if you have any questions. Oh, Butler, Alderman Butler. I'm sorry, okay.
This wouldn't be, without asking for a budget amendment, this would not be possible if it wasn't for multiple departments saying, we can save here to provide this to go towards this project. And again, like I said, when you have multiple department and division heads, as well as the people that support, and they, you know, they're people looking at how we can get things done. Like I said, I'm pretty proud of the team, and as well as all the city departments as a whole, because I mean, and then it comes down to finance, where, you know, comptroller has put this stuff together and on how it can be done as well. So I appreciate all the effort that's been put into it, because this is something that is very, very important to us.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderman Arns,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Teague,
Yes.
Ludwig,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
5 yes.
Thank you. We'll now have the items of information and the monthly report from Chief Yates.
I sent it all out in the shared drive. Did anybody have any questions on anything that we have, first of all, on the 3-year trends? One thing I am happy about, we are still trending in the right direction on most. And if you look at what would be page 4 of that report, sort of indicates a variation from 2024. Again, that's January to June. And then on page 6, again, that gives the distribution of time spent on each one. On other department news and information, our Deputy Chief Patrol Division, Webb, as well as our field training coordinator, Lieutenant Butcher, went to Police Training Institute to check on all of our candidates over there. Remember, we have 5. They are graduating at here in about 3-4 weeks, and they're doing very well, doing very good in their practicals as well as their written test scores. We're proud of that. We're in the process of final examinations and testing for possibly 3 new hires. We should have that swearing in on I believe it be the last Wednesday of August. I believe it's the 27th, and they'll be attending, I believe, reporting to Police Training Institute on September 2nd after the holiday. We did have an announcement, but I think you have it on the agenda later on, and I'll save that till then. Any other questions?
Thank you, Chief. 15A is a resolution approving the purchase and installation of a new engine for transit, for the transit bus. At this time, I make a motion to dispense with the reading and ask for their approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Yes,
Director White?
first, thanks for letting me bring this to public service so I get the ball rolling. Unfortunately, the one thing I've learned in this business is when something goes wrong with the bus, if you have any brothers or sisters to that same year, you should get prepared because you're going to see the same thing. So this is a sister bus to the one we replaced 4 months ago. It's sitting in the back lot, so I got to get it sent to Bloomington. Unfortunately, with tariffs, it went up about $6,500. So any questions, I will gladly answer them.
Any questions?
The only question I
I'm
had
sorry.
was, I didn't look at the original agenda, I just opened the amended one. If this was not on the original agenda, should we hold off on the vote due to the 48-hour requirement?
We should. I apologize, Madam Vice Chairman. I meant to tell you that beforehand.
Okay.
This is the first time that my assistant has had to deal with an amended agenda, so it should
Okay.
it should not be. voted
Certainly
on this
support it,
evening.
and
Right.
should be fine at the council.
So we will bring this to our city council?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Director
Thank you,
White.
Alderman Arns.
Thank you.
Yeah. Items of information from Director White? No? Okay. We'll
Wait.
move, oh,
I'm sorry. Never mind.
okay. 16, A is the ordinance approving the purchase of real estate at 8 East Pine Street for economical development and amending the fiscal year 25-26 budget of Fund 119. At this time, I make a motion to dispense with the reading and ask for their approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Would you like to, Mr. Louis?
Does anyone have any questions about it?
No questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Alderman Teague,
Yes.
Ledwig.
Yes.
Arns,
Yes.
Cooper,
Yes.
Pickering,
Yes.
5 yes.
Any items of information?
I do not.
Okay, thank you. 17 is the Treasurer's Report. Chris Herron, Treasurer. A is the January and February 2025 Treasury Report and Bank Reconciliation. And B is items of information.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Good
Mhm.
evening. In front of you, you have the January and February 2025 Treasurer's Reports. You will find that there's a utility account that is new to the report that was started in January of 25 for the purpose of clearing up the general account bank statement and general account bank reconciliation. There are thousands of entries in the utility account, and now we're able to identify errors in the general account much easier. The new utility account does get the same interest as the general account. We will sweep the money from the utility account to the general account monthly. Secondly, all of our records, 88 banker boxes worth, dating back as far as the 1980s, have been approved by the state for disposal and shredding on August 13th. And then lastly, we had our fire and police pension board meetings on July 15th, and all the treasurer's reports and financials were approved.
Any questions? For Treasurer?
One question, just as a point of clarification, when the money gets swept from the utility account to the general fund, is it monthly, as in every month on the calendar, or after reconciliation?
I don't know that it really matters too much. I'm just going to try to do it around the first of the month.
Okay.
And Comptroller Sweeten and I have talked about leaving a specific amount in the utility account. Just get it over there because that's where all the bills are being paid out of.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Thank you. There is no need for a closed session, but at this time, I'll turn the meeting over to our Mayor Williams.
So I know that Chief will definitely want to say a few words, but for those of you who don't know, Deputy Chief McCord is retiring and he is going to be replacing my father as one of the criminal justice professors out at DACC. I can tell you that he has been someone that I could always count on. Whenever Chief was gone, that he was my go-to guy, and he was very thorough, and he was very fair. I think sometimes some of the guys might tell you he was a little tough, but I think he was tough when he needed to be. I know that Chief and others have said that, Deputy Chief McCord was someone who always had their back. And so for that, we thank him. We will miss him. He does not want an official retirement party, but I couldn't let the almost 30 years of excellent service to this community go without being recognized publicly. So he's not here because he didn't want to be, but I just wanted you all to know and him to know publicly that he's done a great job, and we appreciate him and also his family for sharing him with us. And Chief, did you have anything you'd like to?
Yeah, over the last 6 years when we brought in, Operation 2025, that 5-year comprehensive plan, there was a lot of things that we've done there, and we've moved at warp speed in a lot of areas and had to make corrections and checks. But I will say that he was instrumental in getting his share and responsibilities pushed through on that. Especially when you look at what's happened over the last 6 years, we had with COVID, with the 2020 civil disruptions throughout the country. It was nice whenever I could look in front of me and not have to worry about the 180 that he was covering, along with our other deputy chiefs and our personnel. One thing that I learned during the time, because he was very efficient, was if there was something I asked him to take care of, I almost felt guilty to double check. And if I ever had to deal with his frustrations, it was usually when I'd call, hey, did you get X or Z done? His response would be usually, yes, we already talked about that. So, and that's such a luxury to have when it comes to when you're moving fast. You got to be able to have people that you count on. We have several people like that, but he is one of them, and I appreciate it greatly. I came on Danville came over from VMAG in June of 1997. He came on the department in October 8th of 1997. So we've gone through the different, lot of challenges together over 28 years. But we knew each other from K's Merchandise before even that. So this is the first time. And in regards to DACC and the feeder program that we have through their criminal justice program, I'm very confident that he will do an excellent job, and he's got the energy to do it. And so he's got shoes to fill, but at the same time, I think he'll do an excellent job. And I look forward to working with him from a different perspective. So that's all I have to say.
Deputy Chief's last day with us will be Friday, so please do take some time to wish him well.
And he would be here tonight, but he had a family situation he had to take care of.
Thank you. The only other item that we have, Vice Chairman Pickering, is the Danville Tour Company proposal. The gentleman who's proposed that is here. I will tell you that we have not had an opportunity with the training of the new Deputy Comptroller and a number of other things coming on board. We haven't had time to investigate this. I would be inclined to say that I know that that Clerk Monson believed that we already licensed too many things in the city of Danville, that there are a lot of things that the state licenses that doing so would be a duplication and create more work for them. While I think it's an awesome idea and we certainly support doing anything that we can to bring people to town, I'm not sure. I still need to do some research, number one, to be honest with you. And then number two, based on, our former city clerk's opinion, and I need to speak with our current city clerk and see her thoughts as well. But don't know that we would recommend creating a new license for this from a city perspective, given that it's already covered. I believe it's already covered elsewhere, but I need to do some homework and get back to you on that.
Any questions?
I'd like to ask this guy a couple questions if he's here.
Mr. Hubbard, if you could please come to the microphone and.
You know, sort of brief me again a little bit on what you're trying to do.
Okay, my name is Ed Hubbard. So basically, Danville, and I've gotten is a great place. It's got a lot of history. And in that history, you've got a beautiful downtown, murals, art, sculptures, plus some deep pop culture references. I believe, I've been in other cities, that we can do tours, walking tours, possibly EMT bus tours, and other systems in place that people will pay for, especially around Abraham Lincoln, especially around our Hollywood stars. And I think that would give jobs to people, and it would give them a chance to share the city's knowledge. And that's the whole of it.
See, and I agree with you, what you said. I think it's a great idea too, and it's something that I'd like to see it go and see how it does go. But the licensing part, are you saying that there's probably something there already established that we could go with in that direction, or?
I need to do some more investigation. It's my understanding that these types of things are actually covered by the state, but I do need to do some more research to verify that. I'm not comfortable giving you a solid answer without some more research, Alderman. But again, if it's something that we don't need to license, then I don't know why we should throw additional regulation at it.
And I guess my opinion is I don't want the city to prohibit him doing something like this or anything like that, and I don't want him to go through a bunch of bad things getting there, but I'm hoping he gets this accomplished, to be honest with you. So
absolutely.
And that's when he came to the meeting, we didn't really get that much of a chance to discuss it with him, and I wanted to put it on the agenda, and I'm fully supportive of you, buddy.
May I answer?
Yeah, of course.
For the state of Illinois, besides finding an LLC, to protecting and getting insurance, which the Dalton Agency has been really helping me with that, is I have to make sure that the buses and the vehicles that I use follow IDOT rules. Otherwise, it's a local argument. And if I'm perfectly fine that it's not licensed, I came to the city council for transparency and to be here to do so that when I did it, the last thing I wanted is the poor chiefs to go, they're walking down the street with 20 people at this time. And some things I will do. I will provide the police chief and the city, when I do tours ahead of time, I'll give them sheets to do so. I'm a big believer in public safety. So thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really happy with that.
Thank you, Mr. Hubbard. Any other questions for Mr. Hubbard?
Thank
you,
you.
Madam Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Mayor. Are there any committee members' comments?
Yes.
I've got a question. Go ahead, somebody else.
I have a comment as well.
Go ahead, Alderman T.
So last Tuesday, it was stated that the city is not boarding up houses. Last Wednesday, I was just doing routine things that you do in the city and happened to be driving up Williams. And I saw a couple of houses that made me pause. And I went, what is going on over there? And so I circled the block and I went back past those houses. And a couple of them were open, windows busted, doors open. And when I walked in my office, I said to one of my employees, because I have a hard time retaining information, I said, these addresses, look these up. And so she looked up the addresses, and those are houses that were owned by the city. This was 1 o'clock Wednesday afternoon. About 90 minutes later, I was in an area of my office where you can see the skyline, and we started to see smoke. And one of the employees said, oh my gosh, something is on fire. Look at these black plumes of smoke. And we looked and we said, and my office is located in Town Center, so we could see the smoke rising up behind Masonic Temple. Not understanding where it was happening, just that there was smoke. and said, okay, well, there's something on fire over there. Only to find out that those houses that I just drove by was where one of those fires, where the fire was, in the 500 block of Chandler. And also that those houses are owned by the city. And so then I went back over to that neighborhood because when I circled the block, because I was driving too fast to turn, so I was safe, and I went down Harmon and came back around. So when I circled the block, I saw a number of empty houses, all of which were open, all of which had and not boarded up. And so one of the things that I did was I went online to see, well, who owns these houses? And every single one of them that I looked up was owned by the city. So I went back and took pictures of those houses. And when I went and did searches on those houses, because some of them you couldn't see the address, so I wanted to make sure I got the right address. And when I Googled those houses, I actually saw Google images from Google Maps that were from 2023, which was the year prior to the city buying those houses. So what I did, and I put together for everyone so that everyone could see what I saw. So there's one for you and the mayor. I put together befores and afters of every single address. And there's 16 pages altogether, front and back. So the two houses that caught my eye were 521 Chandler and 517 Chandler. So 521 Chandler, and I circled it in red, you can hardly see the house. So it was in bad condition before we bought it, but it was boarded up. And then I put in here the date which the city purchased it. So you can see from the sales history on the tax information that the city bought this house in May of 2024. Then if you flip it over, this is a picture. The next three pictures are dated because I took these pictures on whatever date the 18th was. I think that was Friday, either Friday or Saturday. You can see that the door that was boarded is now open. The top image on page 3, that's the one that caught my eye because I was like, what house is this? Because I was driving past it. And then the bottom image on page 3 and then, is of the back door, which is wide open. On page 4, you have 517 Chandler, which appears to have been inhabited at the time that Google Images took the picture on June 23rd because the garbage cans are on the curb and the grass is cut. The city bought this house in January of 2024. And then on page 5 is what it looks like now. All the windows are busted, the door is wide open, and the grass is extremely overgrown. Next, you have 432 Harmon. This is not a good before picture because Google Images doesn't have a good picture of directly in front of the house. But you can tell that someone does live there because there's a truck in the drive and the door is closed. But the next two pictures of 432 Harmon, you see every door and every window is wide open and or busted. And then there's a really good close-up at the bottom of page 7 of the busted windows at 432 Harmon. 416 Harmon is another property that the city owns that Google Earth it looks like someone was living there in June of 23. We bought that property in October of 24. And this one, and I don't know, it looks like it might have had a fire. I'm not exactly sure because somebody asked me when I showed them their picture and they said, oh, is this boarded up and that's black? And I said, no, the windows are not there, but all of the framing is blacked. So it looks like it's charred, but I don't know if there's been a fire or not. So you can see the front of the building. The top picture is from Harmon Street. The bottom picture is from, I forget which street it's on. It's a street that's blocked off. So I can't remember the name of the street. So I had to go, when I was going around on Chandler, I had to come back up it. And it's the only house on that street. I want to say it might be Ann or Clay or something like that. But every door and every window in this house is busted. On page 10, you have 334 Harmon, which was in bad condition before we bought it. When we bought it on April of 2024. But the condition now is significantly worse. It's so overgrown you can't even see the steps. And that's, again, taken on Friday. That's on page 11. And then on page 12, there's a house that we acquired from Vermilion County trustee at 418 Chandler that was boarded up at the time. I circled it in red because this is a Google image video, and so you don't get, if I move the picture, it changes dates or it changes time frames and you can't get a good picture. So this was the best picture that could show of what it looked like in June of 23. And then it is also wide open. And then there are two other houses, 506 and 510 Chandler. As you can see from the picture of June of 23, 506 Chandler actually has his residence sitting on the porch. And then 510 Chandler, you could tell it's inhabited because of the vehicle in the drive that's facing the side street. I put the dates on here. So we purchased 506 Chandler on September 30th, and we purchased 510 Chandler on June 28th. And 506 Chandler, wide open. Those pictures were actually taken on Sunday because when I went back over there, I saw a couple more houses, so I took those pictures. So this is wide open with a piece of furniture in the front yard. And then 510 Chandler, which is actually right next door. You can tell that Public Works has been there recently because there's a lot of cut grass in the yard. So there's at least, and from what I gather in at least this area, at least 7 or so houses that we have as a city that are not being boarded up. And they may have been boarded up at some point. I'm not saying that the city does not board up houses, but I saw the same thing happen when we acquired the houses around Garfield Park. As soon as people know that the city owns a house, then they start to break in the house, and we don't keep them buttoned up. And one of the concerns that I have is that we require our residents, and I said this last week, to adhere to a standard that we're not adhering to ourselves. We require our residents to keep their grass cut to the point where if it's above a few inches, they get cited. But we've got grass that's waist high, at least that one at 517 Chandler is. We're not doing the things that we require our residents to do. So to say that we are making sure that everything is buttoned up, I heard what you said earlier, but obviously the pictures say something different. The pictures say that it's not true. And to be quite honest, it's embarrassing because the number one complaint that I hear every single summer from citizens, but especially those who live on the same block or in some instances next to empty houses is, I wish the city would cut the grass. I wish the city would take care of this. It is embarrassing to me to be able to say, well, I'll make sure that I talk to somebody, but I can't really give them information. And I'm not saying that Public Works is not busy, because I know you guys are. And I'm not saying that you guys aren't doing your best to try to keep up, because I know that you are. So this is not to say that I am blaming Public Works for the fact that these houses aren't boarded up, or I'm blaming Public Works for the fact that the grass isn't cut. However, we have to we can't talk out of both sides of our neck. We can't cite citizens for not keeping their lawns up and then we not keep lawns up, especially when we've had most of these houses for more than 12 months and we haven't torn them down. And the other concern that I have is that a lot of times people are asking us about these houses. When is this house going to get torn down? And the only answer that I can give them is, I don't know, especially when we've had some of these houses for more than a year and they look like they've looked, which means that the homeless people or whomever else or the vandals know that these houses are empty and they can just go in and do what they want. And I watched it happen around Garfield Park. I watched houses that were beautiful homes be completely destroyed within a few weeks of the city acquiring them. And the only reason they got destroyed is because everybody knew that the city owned that house and the residents moved out. And we should not make it easy to know that the city owns a house, because the best way to know if a city owns a house is to look at the state of the grass and know that it hasn't been cut, and it can it can be assumed that the city owns the houses and that we're not boarding them up. And the last thing that I will add to that is, I'm curious to know, because the house that did burn down, which is obviously not pictured because it burnt down, was also a city-owned property. And I imagine that it probably And I don't recall looking at that one specifically. I remember the one next to it because all the windows were busted out. But I imagine that that property was also open, and it made it easy for somebody to go in and set it on fire. And if we actually did a better job of keeping them buttoned up, and I know that that potentially could mean that every single time somebody goes over there, that we just got to keep going back over there and boarding them back up. But that one house at 521 Chandler, the board is actually removed and propped up next to the door. So it could easily be resolved, but it bothers me that the firemen, every time they go out and put their lives in harm's way, putting out fires, it's putting out a fire at a city-owned property. It is troubling that we are in this situation, and it is embarrassing to sit here and say, yes, we button up properties, when we drive by properties and we know better, and we know that it's not accurate, not 100% of the time. And it doesn't seem like we're even trying, especially when I know that we've had this happen before.
And Alderman Teague, I will tell you, after that was stated, I did call and I found out and I got a list. And I knew I had one in my area that was done recently. And so I have that list. So yes, we are boarding them up. The second thing I will tell you, anytime I see a house that needs boarded up, I call my inspector or I will call Public Works. And usually within 2 or 3 weeks, it's boarded up.
Well, I just also then will add that while I was out there taking pictures on Friday, I saw a Public Works employee in the yard doing a survey or something. So it can't be said that Public Works doesn't know, because Public Works was actually present when I was taking the pictures. Well, let me back up. I don't know if it was Public Works. I know it was a city employee in a city truck, and it may or may not have been Public Works.
Okay. Alderman Arns?
Well, obviously, I'm the one that made the statement, and so I appreciate and applaud the research that Alderman Teague has done. And what I can tell you is, before stating that, I made occasion to drive numerous neighborhoods throughout this community, and this is consistent with what I saw in those neighborhoods. I have also received complaints from neighbors or people that own property near them that don't understand the length of time. So I guess before I continue on is, what is the expectation of leadership in how long it should take to board a house after the city becomes aware it's needed?
Well, I guess right now, we try to get out there like within days. That doesn't, I wouldn't say that always happens, but that's the intent. I guess I was just basically going to say, thank you guys for doing the research and for bringing that to our attention last week. When the fire happened, the same exact thing was noticed by Public Works. I don't know what angle you took pictures at and stuff. The pictures I was shown from our Public Works staff was most of those houses had been boarded up and most of them had been ripped off. It was stated to me by our demolitions manager that he's sent people upwards 4 or 5 times to different locations to get these reboarded up. That has caused a lot of discussion over standard operating procedures of how we can try to maintain our houses to keep them boarded up. The particular area that you're speaking of is a little difficult as far as the length of time that those homes have been standing because of grant dollars that are being deployed in order to demolish most of those structures. So that's a little bit of a different area. However, I would just say thank you guys very much for your research and for your efforts, and we're working on solution to ensure that we get around to all of those. And trying to figure out, honestly, just trying to figure out budget as well for what it's going to take to actually keep up with those. So as far as mowing goes, that's the same scenario. Due to one of the GIS programs that Manager All has created for us, we're tracking everything as far as how fast we're getting to different lots. And so that's being honed in on every day. there's our greatest room is room for improvement. I guess I would just say I appreciate your guys' feedback. That's become one of our core missions at the moment, is trying to rectify the situation. And I don't know when the last time you were out in that neighborhood, and I am not 100% confident in this, but I know that that's what they've actually been working on yesterday and today, is getting a lot of those boarded up, the same homes that you're talking about right now. So I hope most of those are already done. If they're not, they will be, because those are in process. So like I said, working on standards here to ensure that we are able to keep up. I don't disagree with anything that you've said as far as making sure that we're upholding ourselves to the same standards. So we're working towards solutions there as quickly as we can.
I appreciate.
I'd like to finish. I was just pausing to get an answer
Oh,
on
I'm
how
sorry.
long is
I
a
apologize.
reasonable period. So
I apologize.
just to continue on, like I said, I understand there's a lot of demands. I get that. I was responsible for this activity at one time, and we took it very seriously, and I don't suggest you are not. One of the points I was trying to make was exactly what you just stated, is it's a budgetary issue. And my whole point was, you can buy a lot of plywood with $30,000 that we spent on a structure that was already secured. And so that was my point at which I made the statement that this is not what we should be addressing as priorities. I had no idea the city actually owns some of these buildings I've seen, but I can tell you, this is a very small number of what is really out there. And so the question becomes is, what is a reasonable timeline for residents? I think 30 days is reasonable from a point at which we become aware of a structure for it to get buttoned up. Otherwise, the chief's going to be sending his people to deploy there. There were some occasions where people would rarely get into them. I assume, or I hope, we're still using vandal-proof hardware, so no normal screwdriver and no normal nut driver or anything else can get that material off. So we got very good at getting them secured, and they were generally secured until we demolished them. But while I think it was unfortunate how it was represented on myself by the mayor, it was not a lie. My observations were exactly what Alderman Teague did, and with comments from others that it had literally been years that that condition had existed, I felt it appeared we were not making that effort anymore. So it's good to hear that we are making the effort. I'm anxious to see what level of resources we've been devoting to that. But as an example, I would point out to you, the Dick Van Dyke home has been wide open for years. And if you drive that block of Hazel Street, north of Fairchild Street, they're open. The Dick Van Dyke home has been open for years, and it looks atrocious. Mr. Zindars was here at a meeting probably 3 months ago talking about a property across from his property at the corner of Fairchild and Hazel, I believe it was. Those buildings were still unsecured. Since that hit the paper, I've had people sending me pictures and addresses of things they've been having to deal with. So let's just stop the rhetoric. Let's create a realistic expectation, Mayor, of 30 days, and you tell us what resources you need to get that done. But let's quit buying more properties until we figure that out. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So I wanted to say I appreciate Rui for your responsiveness and your positive response in this. And we have obviously talked many times about a variety of things. So I know that us working together to come to a potential resolution is the outcome that we both want. But with the back and forth that happened last week, and I honestly wasn't prepared to do this and wasn't planning to do this. It's just because I happened to drive by those houses the next day, and then there was a fire in those houses that same day that I'm like, this is a problem. And if it hadn't been for the fact that I happened to be driving by and happened to see those houses, and then when I circled the block saw a number of houses, I wouldn't have gone back and taken these pictures. But there were so many that it seemed warranted to take pictures to be able to share that information. The other thing, though, that I want to ask about, and I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that there needs to be some sort of change as it relates to this, is that we need to have some visibility into the planned demolitions, whether that is, and I know we've had multiple correspondences about that, whether that is, whatever is coming up this month or whatever is coming up for the next 3 months, or what the plans are, because one of the biggest things that comes up is people ask about a specific address, then we are tasked with following up. Now, the way that I follow up is when somebody asks me about an address, the first thing I look to see is who owns it. Do we own it, or does a private citizen own it? If it's a property that we own, which 90% of the time it is, then the thing that I would normally do is go look at the demolition list. Now, in the last correspondence that we had about the list, you let me know that that list hasn't been kept up to date. So I haven't been able to go look at the list, but that also means that when I drive past the property and I'm like 421 Chandler, or 521 Chandler, I want to see where it is on the list, if it is on the list, because then I can say to a citizen, I understand that this house on your block is a problem, but it's planned to be demoed in the next X months, whatever X is. And at least then, with that transparency and that communication, then the citizens know what's coming up, and we know what's coming up. But right now, what it looks like is we buying houses and holding on to them for 12, 15, 18 months with no plans for demo. I know that's not true, but I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, so here in it'd be the last year and a half, more like the last 8 months or so, we've developed and been working to develop a prioritized list. So that's been, and we've been operating from this prioritized list for about 8 months. I guess before that, about a year and a half ago, we started building it and working on some weighted factors to where basically anybody could go out and rate a house and it would pretty well fall in the same order. So we've been just weighting different factors and things like that. So that list is fully operational, has been for a while. We've probably about 2 months ago kind of overhauled it a little bit. So although I totally agree with you, one thing that I will have to do is speak with Council Parker on with different, whether it be warrant or whatever, what we can put out publicly and what we can't. And a lot of that list, it's intermingled how we do it, and we're just going straight down the list. So if we can figure out a good way that we're able to share that, I think that would be great. I definitely think we all want transparency, and I think that putting that list out there would show how amazing of a staff that we have and how hard the crew is working. Because obviously me being in the building and having meetings with our crews that are working on demolitions, I know how hard they're working and how aggressively they're going after everything, including organization. And so I kind of have the adage, it was beat into me in college, you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so we've constantly been working on improving all of our standard operating procedures for that purpose. And just getting to where, hey, we're doing things in an organized fashion. So we're doing things in an organized fashion now that we weren't prior, as far as just with some order and with some standards to where there's reasoning behind everything we're doing, and it's written down and like it's explainable. So we are there with that list. So as far as sharing that publicly, I will get with Council Parker and figure out what we can and what we can't share. But if we're able to share that, I'm more than happy to do so.
And then I have one follow-up question, which is, when a house is in such condition of disrepair that it could be falling in on itself, and I don't know who's the right person to answer this. This might not be you. And it's not owned by the city. What happens? And I asked this question because I was shown a picture today of a house on College Street where it has collapsed. And it collapsed in the last week. And it's not a house owned by the city. So I just want to know what the procedure is as it relates to that.
Yeah. So there would definitely be a little bit of a dual. Let me share the public works side of things, and then I'll forward over to Council Parker. As far as public works is concerned, I can just give an example of a house within the last couple of years. We were called out, I think, was it you, Miss Pickering, that called us? So she called us, I think she called me on a Saturday at about 6 or 7 o'clock at night and said, "Hey Dave, I was just driving down the road and I noticed this house, and I know you guys are aware of it, but it's actually one of the walls is collapsed and it's kind of caved over and it doesn't seem very safe." At that point, we are able to go out and, hey, this is obviously a huge safety concern. So as far as if it's a safety issue to the community, we react. So we brought in fence. We put fence around the whole entire property to where even if it fell further, it wouldn't hurt anybody. We did that night. And then first thing in the morning, we had a contractor on site. We actually did it. We had a contractor come move our hoe, and we called a guy in and demoed that building the following day. So that's an extreme example of a level of safety to protect citizens. However, it has to be assessed and be an imminent threat to life and safety for us to be able to do that. Otherwise, it kind of goes through Council Parker. We make them aware of it, and then you've got to go through. You got to kind of go through the motions there, and I'll let him explain that.
So first, could I get that address so I can look
the
into
address of the house?
Yes.
I don't know the address. I just know it's in the 400 block of Collett. I have a picture of it. The front porch has completely collapsed. It is on the ground.
400 block of Collett?
Yes.
Okay, so it may be something that's already been addressed and is being addressed. I'll have to look in specifically and find out that home. But generally what happens is we have code enforcement inspectors in each area of the city, and once they identify an unsafe or dangerous structure, and it's what they can see from public property, they identify that, and if it's condemned, then it's placarded, and that is identified as a structure that's going to go onto the demolition list. We share that information with Public Works, and as Mr. Rui has shared, they have some criteria where they've developed where it will go on that list, and they prioritize it.
The address is 422. I just Googled it because I was trying to remember what the number was. Because there's a picture here from August of 2023 what it looked like before. The picture on my phone looks very, very different. There is no front door.
So what I'll do is first thing in the morning, we'll look into specifically 422 Collett, see what the status is with that property. We'll be in touch with Public Works, Director Rui and his staff, and we'll, if there is no history on that, we'll send somebody out to address it.
Okay, and so then that would be the normal procedure then going, like, this is how this process works in any situation that's similar.
So the other thing I would make mention of as well as something we've instituted here in the last 2 months. We went through and reevaluated the entire list and realized, hey, there's houses that one get torn up more than others. There's houses that are deteriorating faster than others, and the order of that list can change when something like this were to happen. So that's another standard that we've put in place where, hey, there's got to be some more regularity. That's also what we're working on, or what I believe is the solution for board ups, because I would venture to say the majority of the houses, now not all, by any means, not all, but the majority of these houses that are open have likely been boarded up at some point, and boards have been ripped off. I don't know. We are looking at other options, and I might get with you, Mr. Arns, on some things that you've done in the past, and maybe I don't know if maybe we've gone away from things, but to my knowledge, we still deploy the same standards that you had, but I'll double check that as well. So.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I got one more thing I need to
We're
ask.
all big.
So, for when a house is on the list that you're talking about in terms of we're monitoring these houses or whatnot, so at what point, I'm looking at this particular house, and in Google Images from 2 years ago, you can see that the house that has collapsed had I don't know, maybe 6 foot. I'm not good at estimating distances. 4 to 6 foot hole in the roof 2 years ago, which is, I'm assuming, why it has since collapsed, because we've had a lot of rain and snow and weather in 2 years. So at what point would we do something to get this structure or take this structure or whatever we can to prevent this from happening? Or is that even a possibility? Because I know for a fact this is not the only situation like this. There's a house I drive by every day on Fairchild Street that has developed a hole in the roof. It wasn't there before. It's been boarded up probably the entire time I've been an alderman. And it could be in this same situation, I'm assuming, in 2 years.
If I could ask my question, you might get your answer.
Okay.
How many units are on the list?
Good question. I think somewhere around 100, but I know I'm roughly close. Somewhere around 100.
We've only identified 100 that need demolished?
Director Rui, I think from what you told me, that's what we have a right to demolish, right? Which there's a difference between what we have a right to demolish and what we have on a list that needs to be demolished.
Let me just be really honest with you. I don't look at this list with regularity to know the exact number or if I'm even remotely close. I thought that I was close, but I might be very well wrong. It's going to take me a minute, but I can get on to our shared drive and pull that information up.
We could provide that to you at council next week as well.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, this is obviously not going to get resolved tonight, but what we're talking about is, in my opinion, we need to get to where this is years, not more than a decade, where people are waiting. And at our current budgeted amount of about $500,000, absent Mr. Cronk getting some additional demo, which fortunately he has, the numbers were indicated, some time ago through inspections and our comprehensive survey that number was north of 750 structures. And I know the mayor's indicated that, 400 of those have come down. But my impression is we're probably still in the hundreds, which means we're in the millions to get them all on the ground if you assume an average demo cost of $17.5. And so that's why my belief is as we enter this budget perspective, the casino money should be used to clean up the community and demo houses and economic development. And that's what it was intended for. That's what the individuals went after it for. And that's what our residents need it to be for. And so as we prepare that budget, we need to see $1 to $2 million in demo funds, and there's ways that can be achieved. But I would suggest we do need the list, because if there's only 100 on the list, then more of us need to do some driving around.
So I've got it pulled up right now. It's 275 is what's on the list right now.
Okay. So, and like I said, I'm willing to help, and I'm going to have more time to help at this point, but I would also add that if there's this many structures that the city's not aware of, there needs to be better accountability on the code enforcement. There shouldn't be any structures that the department's not aware of. We had them, I don't know how they operate today, but we had them set up on zones to go by every property, just like the garbage man did. And so there should be no structures that an alderman needs to report that the city is not aware of. But at 275 structures, and there's probably more than that now, we certainly grow that number every year, that's $5 million. So at the current rate of $500,000 a year, it's 10 years for the list that you already have, assuming no others get worse. And that's not acceptable. And so that's what we need to work on collectively as a group, is to determine what is acceptable, how we can get those resources there, and then what that means otherwise. But I think the study, it was mentioned not long ago, perhaps as part of the comprehensive plan, that a study performed by the Hegler Foundation indicated we may have 1,500 to 2,000 structures that we don't have the people to fill. Well, that means 1,000 of those are going to need to come down, and that was the number when I was here. The number was 1,200 structures, and that's why we implemented the $1 million a year to try to take them down. And so hopefully we can all work towards that goal, and we'll have a better neighborhoods, and Chief won't be having his guys at risk for a structure that shouldn't be there.
Mayor, did you have something?
Sure. A number of things. First of all, I for one am always willing to learn and willing to know and do better. A couple of things that I will say though is that I am sorry that I called you a liar, but it is important that we tell the truth. And the statement was made, Alderman Arns, sorry, got to change that.
Understood.
Alderman Arns, that we weren't boarding up structures, and that is absolutely not true. And in fact, a point to your point, Alderman Teague, I live in this neighborhood and I drive down Harmon Street especially all the time. Harmon Street, Chandler Street, all of these things. A lot of these houses have been boarded up, and a lot of them have been boarded up multiple times, and then it's ripped down again. Actually, in preparation, we were preparing to be ready for City Council so we could share it with everyone, but I had asked Director Rui to start preparing a number of the board ups that we have done and also re-board ups. As he said, there are houses that we've boarded up 5 times. And we literally go back out there and board it up again, you know. So they have been boarding houses. So when we say that we're not boarding up houses, we are boarding up houses. A lot of the times when we're boarding up these houses, the ones that I see in my neighborhood on a regular basis, they are torn off again. So we get right back in the situation we were in again previously. I can tell you that one of the things we've also decided is that we're now providing a list to the fire department of vacant structures that we know of. That way, firefighters are not going in to risk their lives, so that we don't put them in precarious situations. As far as the number of houses that we go, you know, Alderman Arens, a number of times you have said, you know, the people up north pay so much, and they pay so much, and they pay so much, and they pay the most for property taxes and other things.
Actually, what I state is they pay disproportionately.
Yeah.
Okay? It's
So-
disproportionately. It's the
Yes, but
inequity of it that you have acknowledged yourself
But if I-
exists within property taxes.
But if I can continue, right now, what we use all of our cannabis money for, and about 60% of our casino money for, is to abate property taxes, to make payments to the pensions. So if we were to change that, and let's say we redirected some of that money to do what you're saying and tear down houses faster, then we have to raise everyone's property taxes. And quite honestly, that is one of the most, in my opinion, it continues to be one of the most unfair taxes we have in America. And I can tell you, especially those folks who live in Ward 6 and 7, but 5 and anywhere across the city, I can tell you, if we raise property taxes by that much, we are, your constituents, if you think they see you now, they're definitely going to be seeing you then. So absolutely, I don't disagree with you that I would like to tear down more, but going from tearing down 10 or 12 to 75 to 100 a year, I think is a pretty good trajectory. We still need to do more, absolutely, you're right, but I think we have to think about that. There's only a limited pot of money, and so if we want to prioritize this, that's fine, but then just realize we have to come up from that money somewhere else. It's a similar thing with the stormwater and the sewer. So I know that you're of the opinion that we need to have 2 separate fees, one for stormwater and one for sewer. And you might be right about that. But the bottom line is the people who are paying the money are going to be paying it one way or another. You can call it the blue tax, you can call it the yellow tax, the sewer tax, the XYZ tax. But the bottom line is our constituents and our citizens are the ones who are paying it. So sure, we can take money away from the money that we're spending from the casino and putting towards the pensions. we can absolutely adjust that to somewhere else. But then you've got to raise your property taxes by a commiserate amount. Now, all of you all know we need to build fire stations. You and I'm going to continue. I'll have the floor if I may. We've talked a lot about fire stations. I know you're of the opinion that we only need 2, and I'm not saying that I disagree with you there. But we're going to have to spend probably $10 million to build fire stations. So now we have to come up with, I don't know what the updated number is. It used to be $750,000 more a year to make that bond payment. So now we're already looking at having to figure out where we come up with that extra $750,000 to $1 million to build fire stations. So now we take away money from that we're using to pay down these pension payments. We're going to have to then raise the taxes and the property tax rates, or some tax rate even more. That's the bottom line. Also, I want to state, it was suggested that we have 9 inspectors, and while that's technically right, 3 of those inspectors are building inspectors. Mostly what they do are review plans, and we have so many new things coming into the city of Danville. That's what they do probably a vast majority of the time. And our plumbing and our plumbing and electrical inspectors, they sure aren't out walking the streets and in the streets. They're reviewing businesses plans primarily. So what I just want to remind people is there's only a limited amount of money, and whatever we reprioritize in one area, we have to take from another area, unless we want to charge you more. And quite honestly, I'm working hard to charge you as little as we possibly can while still accomplishing joint objectives. That's the whole job of this administration, to make sure that we're good stewards of your money. And I think that we have been overall. I'm not saying that there's never any room for improvement, but there's only a limited pot of money to do a limited amount of things. And if we want to do more things or different things, then we have to reshuffle money, we have to reprioritize it, and it has to come from somewhere. Again, we can call it the sewer tax, a sewer fee. We can call it the sanitary sewer fee. We can take money from the casino, or we can take it out of our constituents' pockets to charge them more for property taxes. There are a whole bunch of things that we can do. It's all about priorities. And what we've tried to do is to make sure that we address all of our priorities as well as we reasonably can, while also taking as little money from the taxpayers as possible.
Alderman Arndt?
Yes, since that was addressed regarding comments I've made, I'd like to follow up on that a little bit. And to clarify, as I have indicated previously, it is the inequitable distribution of property taxes. And that's why I asked you to release that information last year during budget time, so that all the aldermen could become knowledgeable on who's paying what portions. So I find it interesting that you automatically go to property tax instead of talking about the public safety pension fee. Because if you put all of those costs on the public safety pension fee, then all residents are being impacted equally in an equitable fashion. So it's interesting you automatically go to the most inequitable way to put fear into people from wanting that. That's not the approach. And so I guess my question is, are you willing to share that information and provide that to the council? When I left sometime before that, within a couple years before that, we did that analysis. And wards 5, 6, and 7 paid 79% of the pension costs related to residential property taxes. That doesn't seem quite right, that 3 wards pay 80% of the bill, and the other 4 wards, which also each have 2 votes, pay 20%. That's not an equitable cost distribution, and I would hope no one would try to set up a system like that. My goal is to fix that system by relying less on property taxes. I give you recognition and acknowledgement that that is a good thing that has happened in reduction of property taxes. I would suggest it needs to go a little further. But what I think we really need to do is have the actual facts before the council so that everyone knows what is equitable. I'm not suggesting that when it comes to property taxes that fund the library or perhaps even the police pension, which is more of a global type activity, that there's always going to be an inequity. But the lesser amount of things that we try to fund through that mechanism, the costs become more equitable. And so the reality is if we're talking about a fire station, we should be, or 2, we should be looking at that as, okay, what if we don't touch property taxes? What if everybody has to pay for it through the public safety fee or a fire service fee, which is what that originally started out as, if you recall? So, you know, there's many things that we can look at, but we can't look at them if the administration's not willing to share the information and resources that they have. And that information can't be updated without Mr. All using his GIS system to get that done. And I appeared probably at 2 or 3 different meetings last budget time suggesting that was information that the aldermen needed to know and should know in order to make informed decisions. So, like I said, I don't think anybody's looking that everything is going to be even across the board. But the fact of the matter is that you have a lot of residents in wards 5, 6, and 7 that are paying 10 times the level of service is no different. We all have police protection, we all have fire protection. So why is there such a disparity in how those things are funded? And so, yes, I personally would have rather stayed away from all of that, and you know where I would have spent the ARPA, and it was in this area. And that was my recommendation to you at that time. We didn't do that, so now we have to fix it a different way. It's over. So let's get the information on the table. Let's find out where are the payments coming from, and let's figure out what is a reasonable cost distribution before we start talking about adding more onto it. You know, I've agreed, Fire Station 2 needs replaced and has for quite some time. But how we replace it and who pays for that replacement is more relevant. And how many we have, you know, I think we should have as many as the citizens want to pay for. But I think it needs to be presented to them in a fashion that they can make an informed decision on how many they want to pay for. I don't mind if we have 3 or go back to 4, if everybody's willing to share in that burden. But we shouldn't have 3 wards paying for the majority of those fire stations. And that's what property taxes would do. So I would hope you would not even look at property taxes. The other thing is as it relates to those costs, we need to look at how is that changing over time. And so I think it's probably changed. We need to look at where did our population loss take place. You know, I assume through the redistricting last time, you looked at a lot of those numbers on where we really lost people in which census tracts. But we need to look at all of that to make informed and knowledgeable decisions and then put that out to the community to help them make a decision. You know, as I've shared before, you know, people that live all around our community that have moved out for whatever reasons have decided that's not a critical element for their living decision. And so my question is all of those people, if their fire divisions want to build new stations, that often requires a voter referendum for the voters to decide they're going to build a fire station. And I don't think it's unreasonable for this community to put all that information together, put it on an advisory referendum at the next election coming up in 2 years, because it will take a year to put it all together. And let's let the citizens have some say in this with a vote, instead of those of us sitting around this table, some of which may be closer to a department or another. Let's get it to where the citizens get a fair shot at, this is the level of service I want. Because we are trading, you are absolutely right. Priorities are being made with every budgetary decision. And more information is needed to make those decisions. But the one thing we all know is that the property taxes are the most unbalanced, unfair tax, but more so in Danville because we have 3 townships. And I resided most of my life in a township that did not reassess for decades. And so while that falls into the category as it may not be our fault as a council, it is our problem. And so we need to look at ways to balance that cost. And when that was looked at previously, nobody wanted to touch it. So the public doesn't even know anything about it. But it is possible to do. And it's been commented to me when I've talked about these demolitions that we're doing the best we can do. I would suggest we can do better, and I think we can do better together, but we need to share the information and we need to get started on it. Budget's around the corner. Thank you.
Do you have anything else to say?
I would only say that we did discuss extensively other options. At one point, there was a utility tax on the table. Right. At one point, there was that was suggested by the previous administration and the leadership in that. There was also there were other taxes that were on the table. There was a inverted public safety pension fee proposal at which the people in the poorest districts we're going to pay sometimes 2, 3, and 4 times as much as the folks who are on the north end of town.
That's not true. That's simply not true.
We can provide that information to the public so that they can see what is and isn't true, and we'll make sure that we do that. So the bottom line is we have a lot of work to do. I think we're all interested in getting in a good place for our citizens, and it is about priorities. And the bottom line is, based on how we prioritize, some folks might have to pay more. It's just a matter of who, how much, and under what circumstances, for what fees, for what taxes, for what user services. So we'll continue to work to make Danville better. I'm really proud of the progress we've made so far, but we can always do better.
And my last comment, Mayor, is I wasn't the mayor. I was an employee. So my level of authority and control is the same as what those people's are over there. So while I agree things could have been done much better then, that's one of the reasons I resigned. Okay? So now what you're going to hear is what Doug Arns believes as an alderman and an elected official, and you'll find that's a lot different than what his boss used to think. So thank you, and I appreciate you considering that.
Thank you, Alderman. And I believe,
I have a question,
Okay.
just for a point of clarification. So the cannabis taxes that we receive and the casino taxes we receive both go to the police and fire
The
pension?
cannabis taxes we receive, and about 60% of the casino funds we receive.
Okay. And the reason why I asked is because he said casino, you said cannabis, and I'm like, well, that's not what he said. So I wanted to make sure that it was very clear which taxes we were talking about and what's going where.
Yeah, cannabis goes to pensions.
I know cannabis does, but he said casino.
Right.
You responded and said cannabis.
60% of the wagering and admissions.
For the casino.
For the casino.
Yeah, people ask, Alderman Teague, people ask the question all the time, where does the cannabis money and where does the casino money? So I just was reiterating that fact for the public.
Understood. But your statement was in response to what he said, and I was thinking, wait, that's not what he said. So I just want to make sure that it's clear. So 60% of the wagering and what else?
Admissions.
Admissions. Okay, thank you.
and I
And where
believe,
does the rest, I'm sorry, where does the remaining 40% go?
General fund.
Okay.
and I believe Alderman Butler, you wanted to say something?
Oh, yes, I just want to kind of comment on the, I appreciate Doug, have some concerns about equal taxes from the north to the south to the east and west. And, if that's the case, I'm hoping that the city will provide more and better infrastructure so that my neighborhood and the east end would look like the north end. And so I wouldn't mind paying equal taxes. On the other hand, might be some good and wholesome instruction for Dave Rui on that house on College Street. It could have been about 6 years or more that the owner was approached about that home, and I don't know what happened to it there, but since then the owner has passed away, and I think his nephew owns the home. Now the home is very much it needs to be torn down. They tore down the one that's on Seminary Street, it kind of caught fire, and they tore it down. I don't know what they're gonna do with the rubbish, but it's still sitting there. Now, as we say that we own all these houses and then we can't tear them down because of legal fees and things. I know a customer or a client or a homeowner owned a house, and the city sent him a letter saying that if he or she didn't tear the house down at a certain length of time, that the city will come in, tear it down, and then charge the homeowner for tearing it down. Now, if a homeowner owns a house like the one on College Street and it's way beyond repair, and that same letter, I believe, should go out to that owner to say, hey, the house is in disrepair it needs to be tore down. If it's not tore down at a certain time, and they don't respond, to just tear it down.
Yeah, so that would go. So that would be kind of go with the legal division's standards. But if they're made aware of a house, the same exact standard applies every single time. And it does get to that point as it goes through the court process. We just have to go through the court process and go that route. So yeah, I guess I would just say this to kind of wrap that conversation up. We've got a demolition manager that is working tirelessly to ensure that he's doing the best he can and doing it in an organized fashion, and in a way that is I guess best stewarding city resources and the resources that he's given in his budget. And I guess I just wanted to extend an invite to any aldermen that want to come out and meet with me, meet with him, and just kind of see how we do things and what we're working on. As far as I'm concerned, Public Works is an open book and willing to, hey, come look how we do things. And if you guys have any input on ways we can improve, more than happy to hear it and more than happy to apply it. We just want to be the best us we can be. So feel free to come on out and visit and just get a hold of me, and we'll schedule a time, and I'll make sure that we've got whoever. I guess you let me know what you want to talk about, and I'll have the subject matter experts there. I definitely don't claim to be an expert in any category, but I've got people for all of it. So anyway, I wanted to make sure and make a point of how good of a job I think Mr. Brown is doing, and constantly coming up to my office and, hey, bringing ideas of, hey, I'm thinking I'm going to do this, and this is how we're going to do it, and hey, I'm trying to figure out how we can, it's a constant, and I really, really, really appreciate team members like that are working very hard to bring their absolute best. So more than happy to kind of have an open book, open door policy. You guys let us know if you want to come out, and we're more than happy to have you. So.
And so on my last statement is that I've been told that we're going to have some funding left from the Breezy Tower demo. And so now that money is used for demolition. And so what is that funding is going to be used for? And are the aldermen going to know how much money is left to do more demolition, and where it's going to be used in what areas?
So the initial, a long time ago, before I was involved a whole lot, that ordinance got passed to set aside $4 million for the demolition of Breezy Tower. And in that same resolution, the resolution basically says, and other downtown buildings. It lists a couple, but it also gives some generality of downtown buildings. We have a list right now of buildings that we intend to try to get them all of them, take them down, but it's in this core downtown area. So we've been in contact recently with a few demolition contractors and kind of getting a feel from them as far as, hey, what's the best way for us to bid this out to where it makes sense for you guys to have, to take a good swing at it. Do we divide these up, or do we bid them all in one package? What kind of getting a feel from all the contractors that might be involved in that, as and not all, just as many as we know of that we think might bid on it. Calling them and just asking that question. So right now we're awaiting kind of making sure that we don't have any unforeseen things that pop up from Breezy, so that we know 100% what kind of money we definitely have available for that. As soon as we have a for sure that yes, this is the money that's available, then we intend to put out a bid package or multiple, depending on kind of some of the answers we get and feedback we get from contractors, and then we will put those out for bid. So majority of those are all going to be in this core downtown area.
And I would just like to add on to Dustin Brown, our specialist, demo specialist. I've had a lot of contact with him, and he does a good job. He's always calls me back, so he is anybody that needs to call him. He's really does a good job, and I thank him for that. Are there any other comments? Okay, I entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Say aye. All opposed? Motion passed.
Good job, Vice Chairman. Thank you.